Welcome, and thank you for tuning in. You're listening to the Beyond 50 radio program. I'm Daniel Davis. On the program today, we're going to be talking about weight loss. But there are a lot of conventional methods that you might find out there where everybody seems to have the inside info on what the best way is for us to treat our body to lose weight and feel healthy. We're going to take an interesting approach today. The title of the book is simply titled The Hunter-Farmer Diet Solution. On the program today, and the author of the book has been extensively involved in the medical field for more than 20 years. He is the corporate medical director of the Canyon Ranch Health Resort. He's joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio program today to talk about which one you may be. Are you the hunter or the farmer? And I'd like to welcome to the Beyond 50 radio program today our guest, Mr. Mark Laponis. Mark, thank you for joining us here on the program today.
Thanks, Daniel. Thanks for the invitation. It's nice to be
here. Now, this is kind of, I guess, an interesting approach. How did you come up with the idea of the hunter-farmer diet solution? Is there really such a thing in people?
Well, I've been helping people to get healthy and lose weight here at Canyon Ranch for 20 years. And Canyon Ranch has been here even more, 34 years. And we've had a long history of helping people learn to eat better. And what we've learned over the last 30-plus years is that the one diet doesn't always work best for each person. In other words, people are different and they need different approaches, and some people need a different diet than others to get healthy and to lose weight, and that's what the book is about, that some people should eat like a hunter, others really need to eat more like a farmer.
Now, what is the difference between the two?
I think when people hear the idea hunter-farmer, they're thinking carnivore, vegetarian, but that's not really what I'm after.
No, because farmers raise cattle and sheep.
Well, sure, of course, and that's not really what I was trying to get at. But think about the historical hunter. The historical hunter-gatherer, not just a hunter, hunter-gatherer. So if someone 3,000 years ago was looking for food, they might catch a fish, they might kill a bird, they might catch an animal, they might dig up a root or pick some fruit or berries or a nut or something like that. They're foraging. But what they couldn't have hunted, 3,000 years ago, let's say, was a loaf of bread or some pasta or cereal, because for that you'd have to grow crops and cultivate and, of course, process and refine and then turn that into some food. And so the idea for the hunter is not that they should just eat meat, it's that they shouldn't eat the grains, that they really can't forage the grains. Mm-hmm. And that's because the hunter type is the type that is the pre-diabetic type. That's the type who, by eating grains, raises their blood sugar and goes closer down the road towards diabetes, and that makes them more ill and gain more weight, and the weight that they put on tends to go straight to their belly as opposed to their thighs and butt. Mm-hmm. And that's very different, let's say, than the farmer type. And the farmer type is not the person that should just be eating vegetables. No, because as you said, there's other things that happen on a farm. Now, the idea behind the farmer is the farmer is the opposite. They can handle carbs and they can handle protein, but they can't handle the fat. So the farmer needs the low-fat diet, with the idea being that it's hard to grow fat in your garden, for example. So those are the two basic types of people. The people that can't handle fat, they're the farmers, and the people that can't handle grains, those are the hunter types. And once you figure that out, that's your key to losing weight and to getting healthy.
Now, is it true, though, that we actually have a different type of metabolism in our body types? Is that what you're suggesting here?
There really is a different type of metabolism. And really what distinguishes the two groups is how sensitive someone is to the hormone insulin. We all make insulin, and that controls our blood sugar levels. But some of us make just a little insulin, some make a lot. And the amount that we make and how we respond to that really determines the metabolism. People that make too much insulin can't handle carbohydrates. They're the hunter types. They're overproducing insulin. They're what we call insulin resistant. They're the pre-diabetic person who will become a diabetic later in life. What's interesting is how people get to be one type or the other. It's very genetic, of course. If you had two hunter-type parents, you're more likely to be a hunter-type person. But there's one other thing that can program us, and that is our birth history. Interesting, the birth weight is a good predictor. Mm-hmm. And maybe not the way you thought. It's the little babies that grow up to become the hunter types, the diabetic types later in life. In fact, if you were below 6 pounds or 6.5 pounds at birth, you're much more likely to be a diabetic adult, which I think is fascinating.
Interesting. I wouldn't have thought about baby weight as being a factor in this.
Yeah. Do you know your baby weight?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I just got my
You
birth
probably have
certificate.
older brothers and sisters. That's why.
Ah, okay.
If you're a first child, you know your weight, let me tell you. By the third child, you're really lucky if you have a picture, a baby picture.
Well, that's the truth. Yeah, we're filming our first child, but then the other one, oh, well, we've done this already. Sorry, kid. Now, how successful has this been on average for the people where you've implemented this particular strategy?
Well, it's a great question. First of all, you should know that losing weight is tough no matter how you do it. It
Sure
requires, some willpower and some changes in behavior, and that's tough. But what we've learned is that if you put the person on the proper diet for them, they get about twice the results in the same amount of time. In other words, they'll lose twice as much weight in the same amount of time if they're put on the right diet than if they were on the wrong diet. And that's what the studies show, too. And there's been some studies that have compared, for example, low-fat and low-carb diets. And they found that people do okay on either one. But if you match the right diet with the right metabolism, you actually get double the results better.
Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of times, too, as people kind of consider the way of changing their diet to be able to lose weight, it isn't so much just a matter of losing weight, but it's also about feeling better. And I know that when you talk about that in your book, that's really one of the real ideal goals. It's about feeling healthy.
Yeah, no doubt, and feeling more energy, and not having trouble sleeping, and not feeling that upset stomach all the time, and getting on the right food is so important. And there's been a lot of different, let's say, therapeutic diets over the years. There's low fat, there's gluten free, there's diabetic diets, there's renal, kidney failure diets, but this is really the idea that once you realize what's best for your body and you can eat that way the rest of your life, that's what keeps you feeling good and staying healthy. The health problems occur when you're eating the wrong diet. In other words, that's the farmer who's eating like a hunter or the hunter who's eating like a farmer. Then we've got problems.
Mm-hmm. Now, has it been possible for people who have taken this approach with your hunter-farmer solution where perhaps they do have an onset of type 2 diabetes where they've been able to turn that around?
Yeah, in fact, type 2 diabetes is reversible if people can successfully reduce their intake of grains and sugar. And in fact, I know a lot of people who have been diagnosed as diabetic, but they're on no medications. They're just controlling their blood sugar entirely by eating the right food. That's completely possible. In fact, that's the goal for every type 2 diabetic.
Oh, okay. Now, it's kind of funny because there's a chart in your book here that shows a trait, hunter, farmer, and it shows body types.
Yes.
And, for instance, it says, when I gain weight, it seems to go mostly to mine. And then it shows, hips, buttocks are best described as narrow and flat or wide and rounded. So that's the difference between a hunter and a farmer. Now, is that really pretty common in people?
Yeah, the location of fat actually predicts what we find in someone's blood. So, for example, people that tend to put on more belly fat, that's the hunter type. They have what we call visceral fat. It's the fat that surrounds the organs inside the gut, like the liver and the pancreas and the bowel. And that kind of fat is a very different kind of fat than the fat that comes under the skin, like around the hips and thighs and buttocks area, for example. That's the subcutaneous, under the skin fat. And they're very different, and those different types of fat actually predict what we'll see in the blood. So people that have a bigger belly, in other words, more visceral fat, are going to have higher blood sugar. They're going to have higher triglycerides. They'll have a low HDL. The good cholesterol level will be low. And that's the opposite for people that have bigger hips, bigger thighs, and a smaller waist. Those people will have lower blood sugar, higher HDL, lower triglycerides, the opposite.
Mm-hmm. I know that one of the things you talk about, too, besides where the fat goes in the body and distinguishing which one are you, a hunter or a farmer, is that you also take a look at your family history and where that leads to. Now, talk about the differences there. For instance, one of my lineages is Native American, Cherokee, okay?
Uh-huh.
So talk about that a little bit and how there could be some differences there for people to consider.
Sure. I mean, we usually, we take after our parents, and most often we take after, one or the other slightly more when it comes to metabolism. And, the boys don't always track after the father and the girls after the mother, but we could take, after one parent or the other. So if we have two hunter parents, chances are we're a hunter kid as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's also true for the farmers. The challenge is what happens, when a hunter marries a farmer. It's sort of like the old nursery rhyme, Jack Sprat could eat no fat, his wife could eat no lean, you remember.
Right.
But it's kind of like that. And then what happens with the kids? And the answer, well, it depends. It might partly have to do with their birth history, but also the likelihood of taking after one parent more than the other. If you can't tell by where you put on the fat, some simple things in the blood or maybe the family history could help. For example, if both parents were type 2 diabetics, you're going to be the hunter type. If both parents were, had more bigger hips and thighs and a skinnier waist and they had no belly fat but all subcutaneous fat, you're more likely to be the farmer type. And so, yes, our parents have a strong effect on how we come out in terms of our metabolism. And, being a hunter is not worse than being a farmer, to tell you the truth. Mm-hmm. It's just different.
Right.
And that means you need to eat differently. But you shouldn't feel shorted if you're a hunter or a farmer because you still get to eat. You just got to change your choices. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Now, you've been pretty successful with people with this here. Take a look at, for instance, especially in entertainment, that there are weight loss shows now. Like, for instance, there's the Biggest Losers, one of those competitions. What are your thoughts about something like that, especially the message that it sends to people who watch a show like this who are trying to lose weight?
Well, I think it could work in a lot of ways. One is it could give people the motivation that they need to make changes themselves. And I like that part of it, and that if a show like that can motivate someone, because honestly, I see it, and if I see somebody that could lose 100 pounds, I think I could lose 20. So it's motivating in that regard. And these people have a lot of courage, I think, to put themselves out there,
Right.
in public. I mean, honestly, they really do. You got to give them a lot of credit. And you can see by the results, it works, for people to, put their neck on the line like that. They really get great results. Now, of course, a lot of them gain the weight back because that kind of an intensive program is hard to maintain.
Sure.
And what I'd rather see is somebody learning a way that they could eat for the rest of their lives, not just for the next 6 months, if you know what I mean.
So what we should do then is, by implementing your strategy, is have more of a biggest eater competition sort of thing.
Yeah, I think you're right. Or let's call it the biggest winner instead of the biggest loser.
Now, are a lot of the recipes that you have here in the book, are these old family recipes here? Or
those are Canyon Ranch recipes.
Canyon Ranch recipes, okay.
Yeah, they're all used and implemented at Canyon Ranch, and we have a very strict, rules about what's okay for the food. It has to be, certain quality, of course, and all the right nutrients, and then be healthy and nutritious, et cetera, and find the recipes to be quite tasty and also healthy.
Outstanding. Now, tell us about your website and where people can find out more about this.
Great. There is a website. It's called hunterfarmerdiet.com, and what you'll find there is the quiz that you can take. There's 18 questions, and there's a little quiz, and you can take the questions and learn which type you are most likely. And it asks you about where you put on fat and how you tend to float and your hunger levels, et cetera. And from that, it can really tell you which type you are, and from that you should be able to tell the best way to eat for you. And of course, it'll give you some resources and link you to the book where you can pick up the book. It's at Amazon and Barnes and Noble, et cetera. And it's a short book. It's an easy read, and it's not long. So I think it should help a lot of people.
Okay. Now, tell us, Mark, how is this approach actually caught on with people?
Well, it's done very well. I think interesting. We've also got a Facebook page, and I love going there and hearing people's stories because there people are actually sharing their results, and what we're finding is people are doing really well. They're losing a lot of weight and getting very excited and being very happy, of course, with how they're feeling about it. And that's been really rewarding. I mean, you can imagine when you write a book, you do it because you want to help people.
Right.
And to get that kind of feedback from people you don't even know is just fantastic. I just love to hear the stories. So it's been well received.
Oh, very good. Go ahead and give your website out again one more time.
The website is hunterfarmerdiet.com.
So
And again, there is a Facebook page too, so take a look.
So get the book, The Hunter Farmer Diet Solution. Find out which one are you and achieve not only your diet goals, but also to have more energy and vitality. I'd like to thank Dr. Mark Laponis for joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio program. It's been a pleasure to have you.
Thanks, Daniel.
We want to thank you, the listeners out there, for tuning in. Be sure to visit us at our website at beyond50radio.com. Be sure to sign up for our free weekly e-newsletter as well. I'm Daniel Davis. Thank you for joining us, and remember, live your day past halfway.